Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. This is the sixth part of our in-depth series on Warhammer Quest, and we're going to start taking a look at some of the warrior expansions. Now, we're not going to do a full in-depth look at each and every warrior. That would be far too long. I could easily spend probably half an hour on each warrior, well, maybe, and that could push this series into 10 hours long or something. I don't know. We're not going to do that. We're just going to take a brief look at a few, and then in this video, and then we'll take a brief look at the others in another video. So I've chosen these three to focus on tonight because these are the ones that I've actually finished painting. I actually finished all of these this week, so I'm trying to get back into the swing of things with painting. Because if I work at it at this rate, I should be done painting by the year 2159 or something like that. So tonight we're going to be taking a look at the Pit Fighter, the Warrior Priest, and the Chaos Warrior. So I believe there were 9 official retail warrior expansions. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there were 9. Unless I'm missing one, there was the Pit Fighter, there was the Warrior Priest, the Chaos Warrior, War Dancer, the Witch Hunter, the Troll Slayer, which was also in the role-playing book, but he did come in a box, the Imperial Noble, the Elf Ranger, is that what he was called? The Elf Ranger, and then the Questing Knight, the Britannia Knight, which the Knight expansion is the only one that I don't have the official stuff for. I have the mini, but I don't have the box, I don't have the book, I don't have the cards. So if I want to play him, I have to use Little Monk's Revised Edition rules. For some reason, that one is the most expensive. It was the last one released, so I have a feeling that they just weren't producing as many, so that's why that one often goes for a lot more money than the other ones on eBay. And as I mentioned, Little Monk has done revisions for all of these because a lot of these were not balanced at all. So for instance, the Pit Fighter is often considered to be super powerful, totally OP, while the Warrior Priest is kind of a pushover. And so Little Monk, with his extensive knowledge of the game, he has gone through and worked on revisions for I think every single character in the game. Excuse me. So while there were 9 retail expansions, there were also maybe 2 or 3 mail order expansions that you could get. They printed some material in a small journal called oh, my mind just completely blanked on what the journal was called. Hold on, I'm gonna go take a look. Death Blow. I kept wanting to say Death Hunt, but no, yeah, Death Blow. So there was 3 issues of Death Blow, which was a small kind of a fan-made magazine. What was it? It was official, but they published fan-made material. They also published official material. But there were some mail order warriors that you could get from those. I don't have either of those, so if I have to use those, I'll just use Little Monk's revisions. Anyways, that is a long preamble, so let's go ahead and take a look at these 3 warriors tonight. So like I said, the Pit Fighter here, I just finished painting a few moments ago. I don't even have the varnish on him yet. I really like the way this guy turned out. I'm trying to get faster at painting, so I want to get down to like an hour and a half a mini. This guy took me 2 hours. And that actually was including quite a bit of time to wait for some of the wash to dry. And so I'm pretty sure if I was working on maybe 2 or 3 minis at the same time, I might be able to get that down to that amount. But I'm very happy with the way he turned out. It's not like it's going to win some prize or anything, but for table quality, it is. I think it's one of my better ones. So the Pit Fighter, he comes with his box here, and then the back of the box just kind of shows you a picture of everything you get, and then how a professional would paint it, and a little bit about the warrior. can also see the price there. These were $14.99 when they were released. And then you get his first, or his level 1 warrior card. So this is just kind of what you would get as soon as you started off the warrior. It tells you his wounds, his stats, the equipment, the weapon he starts with, his armor, what he has to roll to escape a pin, and then special rules. The special rules would be on the back. So the pit fighter training allows him to react very quickly. Whenever an unexpected event causes monsters to appear, roll a d6 just after the monsters have been placed. So on a 1, you become confused and you can do nothing for your turn. But on a 5 or 6, you get to act right away and do an attack, and then take your attack also during your normal turn. So the pit fighter can move in very quickly and take out a bunch of guys. Okay, and then he starts off with the pit flail. So when he uses this pit flail, he's actually at a +2 strength. So that means he can do +2 damage. 1d6 plus 5 damage because his strength is 3. However, if he rolls a 1, he hits himself instead. So he can actually do damage to himself. But he offsets that with this magic potion. And the magic potion, he can drink it, or you can have another warrior drink it. If he drinks it, you get 1d6, heal 1d6 wounds. But if you roll a 1, the potion has run out. And the other warriors can drink it, but if they roll a 1 or 2, it runs out. So if you're lucky with your dice roll, you can keep this around for quite a long time. And then each warrior also comes with this a little manuals. Now these are very small books. But inside these pages is packed a lot of information and a lot of neat things. The text is incredibly tiny in here. I have a hard time reading this without my glasses. But each book will give you a little bit of background information. Now the pit fighter has 6 different possible backgrounds. So you roll a die to find out why you stopped pit fighting or what happened to you. And then you get a little basic introduction that's pretty much the same for all the warriors, just kind of like how to use this expansion. Starting out as a pit fighter, which tells you how to roll up a new pit fighter. Information on his weapons, on the special rules. And then you get into the advanced rules, which is if you're playing with any of the rules from the role play book in the base game, you're playing with the advanced rules. So you have his events and armor. You can buy extra pieces of armor with the pit fighter, and if you do so, you should make a note of which part the pit fighter's body the armor covers. So he has more options with his armor, and he can go into debt. And then when you're in settlements, if there's an uneventful day, each of the expansion warriors has an uneventful day table that they can roll on. So new things can happen to them in settlements. And then you get some different information about him in combat. And then when he's in a settlement, here it opens up this location called a fighting school. And the fighting school can be visited by the pit fighter, barbarian, troll slayer, chaos warrior, or dwarf. And then the pit fighter himself has a special location, the armory, which only he can visit. And then you get your different ways that you can train to make him stronger, and your skills that you can get. And then just some brief role-playing guidelines to help you play the character. And then there's his battle level and charts that you can fill in. So again, that was the pit fighter. So he is often considered one of the stronger characters and OP. So now let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum, which is the warrior priest, which is often considered one of the lower tier characters. So I just finished this guy, painting him up last night, and I used a different technique with him. I did 100% dry brush, well, probably 98% dry brush. And then with some washes and some brief highlighting over. I do like the way it turned out, and I'm definitely going to explore this technique more. I love dry brushing. I did use some dry brushing on the Pit Fighter. I use dry brushing on just about everything I do, but I've never done one before that was like every color, all of the base colors were dry brushed. So it has kind of more of a sketchier look to it. And this guy I actually did in about an hour and a half. So dry brushing technique may be the fastest. It's the least precise, but the results can be good. So the Warrior Priest has the same things. His box here. What you get, so the tokens are in the base game box, so I'm not bringing those out, but each of the warriors comes with their own little token that you can use for randomizing a warrior or just, I don't know, whatever, flipping a coin. Again, a way that the priest would look if you were a very good painter. Okay, then you get his starting character card here. So he only has a weapon skill of 2, so he's not very good at fighting. He's supposed to be a healer, but his healing capabilities can be not so great. They can also cause damage when you're trying to heal. So I think that's one of the reasons why he's often considered one of the weaker characters. And he can never use any additional armor except for his breastplate, and he can only use warhammers in combat. However, he can use treasure, which is normally only for wizards. But as a warrior priest, you would think that as a warrior he would be able to use more weapons. So if you find a bunch of weapons for him and they aren't warhammers, well, too bad. But he can use things that are for wizards, so it's all right. And then he has his holy book, which has blessings. The holy book contains the following blessings: the surge of chaos, the call of the brave, and vanquish. And there are also, I believe, other blessings that you can learn. And then we have his Ring of Jade. So this is how he heals people. So he rolls 3 dice. And if he rolls doubles, he can heal himself or other warriors for, however many pips are showing on the doubles. But if he rolls a double 1, each warrior nominated for healing suffers 2 wounds. So in the heat of battle, when you're relying on your warrior priest to do some healing, to help the party pull through and save the day, he can actually end up killing the entire party. So, yeah, that's not fun. And then the same kind of book here, small book with a little bit of backstory, same layout as the Pit Fighter. It goes a little bit more of his blessings, a little bit more information on his Ring of Jade, how he can use treasure. And then we get into the advanced rules. So we have an initial blessing of Sigmar that he starts off with, which can give him some extra powers. And then a ring of command, the warrior priest and settlement. So his special location is the Temple of Sigmar. And he can make donations to this Temple of Sigmar. And then he can also pray there. And he has this prayer chart. And then he also has another uneventful day chart for certain things that can happen. So each of these warriors really adds a lot to the game in terms of in the dungeons and exploring and fighting and utility, and then also within the settlement. And then we get to the different blessings. And the blessings of Sigmar that you can learn, it's a 2d6 roll. And then some more role-playing guidelines. So even though the warriors are different, the layout of each expansion is pretty much the same, and you are getting some repeat like boilerplate information, which is fine. And then finally, tonight, we will take a look at the Kaos Warrior. So the Kaos Warrior I just painted up a few days ago. I'm not thrilled with the way he turned out. It was just no special techniques or anything. But this guy took me way too long. It took me like 3 hours, and to spend 3 hours on it and not be thrilled with the results. I do like the back. I think his cape and his hair looks pretty cool. But as you can see, metal. So yeah, the base the warriors in the base in the base game are all plastic, but these guys are metal, and this guy is really chunky. I don't know if you can tell, but he's really hefty. I mean, the pit fighter almost feels plastic compared to this guy. So the Kaos Warrior is one of the more interesting warriors. This box is pretty banged up. It's probably my most banged up box. I had to do some taping and repairing on this guy. He is super interesting because every time you bring him into a mission, he could be a almost completely different character because of his chaos attributes and chaos artifacts that he can use. Not that he can use, that he's forced to use. So depending on how you've leveled him up or what kind of roles you have, when you bring him into a dungeon, you will have a certain number of chaos artifacts and a certain number of chaos attributes that will affect him. And those can be ranged from anything from being just a furious fighter to where you're totally kicking ass to be a kind of a feeble-minded invalid where you can't do anything, and all the spectrum in between. And just right off the bat here, so most of the warriors, when you roll up their initial wounds, they have a certain number, a certain die, like a 1d6 plus 7, plus 8. They always get a guaranteed number or a guaranteed low, right? Well, the Kaos Warrior, he just starts with 3d6, no added bonus. So you could have 18 or you could have 3. So, and that kind of sets the tone for the entire character and everything you're going to experience with this character. He has his gifts of chaos. So this is what you roll to see what kind of, if he's going to have 2 attributes and 1 artifact, or 1 attribute and 2 artifacts. And then he has this base card here with the standard 6 attributes, going from mindless to where you can do nothing on a turn, or going to the warp frenzy where you're a battle-hardened warrior. And then your chaos artifacts with your parrying blade all the way to your axe of mighty striking. But then in his book, this is the thickest of the books that I'm looking at today. He's got a ton of other stuff. So again, his backstory here, his introduction to how to play, starting stats, his starting chaos attributes, his starting chaos artifacts, and then you get to the settlement phase, and he has a chaos temple that he can visit, that only he can visit, and certain things can happen to him there. And then as you level up, you go through the path of chaos, and this dictates how many more starting artifacts and chaos attributes you can have. And the chaos attribute table is a D66 table, so there's a ton of those. All kinds of crazy things. I mean, it's really fun to play the Kaos Warrior. And then you also have a D66 roll on the chaos artifacts. So once again, tons of variety with this guy. And so I've chosen for when I do my initial playthrough on this channel of this, I am going to actually do a 2 warrior party of the Warrior Priest and the Chaos Warrior. And I think this is going to be kind of an interesting combination. I'm not sure if I'll even survive 1 dungeon with these 2. It's completely up in the air with these guys. And I'm going to kind of develop a little backstory, like they were once brothers in a monastery or something, and the Chaos Warrior decided to go towards the power of chaos. He was tempted by the power, but he wants to get his humanity back or something, and so he goes back to his old friend, the warrior priest, who vows to help him save his soul. And I even kind of like painted them in similar ways just to kind of show that they are at least similar colors, that there's a camaraderie between the two. They kind of have this unbreakable bond. And I think it'd be really fun to see what I can do with these two guys in a game. So yeah, that's it. Those were the three warriors tonight: the Pit Fighter, the Warrior Priest, and the Chaos Warrior. We'll take a look at some of the others in another video. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we will talk to you later. Bye bye.